my Lancashire Tales. Many of you have heard these, and they're quite enjoyable. And
you will enjoy it.
I'll tell you how I got into this when I graduated from LA High School and went to Stanford as a freshman. That was back in 1936, for goodness sakes. You had to write down what your major was as well as your minor. And I had a major in engineering, but my minor was in English prose and poetry. I knew I'd get Shakespeare and stuff like that, but I ran across this Lancashire Tales, which I found very interesting. And so we're going to start off with it's about a family called the Ramsbottoms. And there actually is a Ramsbottom on the roster of the St. Matthew's Church. I found that out. I don't know the gentleman. But it's a Ramsbottom and their 7-year-old son. And there's some of the types they get into. On young Ramsbottom's birthday, his parents asked what he'd like most. And he said to see Tower of London and gaze upon Anne Boleyn's ghost. They thought this request were unusual and refused if first were inclined, till Pa said a trip to the Tower might broaden the little lad's mind. So they took Shattybank up to London and arrived at 3:45, and seeing as the Owl pubs wasn't open, they went straight away to the Tower. So they didn't take much of the buildings, weren't what they'd been led to suppose, and the byword Tower didn't impress them. They said Blackpool's got one of those. But they find him at a beefeater who filled the old chap with alarm about the stories of the ghost of Anne Boleyn had carried her head beneath her arm. Said beefeater, you ought to come Fridays if it's goes to Van Boleyn, you see. The union now limits her output and she only gets one walk a week. But, says he, it's just plain ghost that you're after. Did you get the Cockney accent here? Just plain ghost that you're after. There's Lady Jane Grey to be seen. We get chased around by the Esmond at midnight on Cold Tower Green. So they went to the green around midnight and thinking they'd time for a sup, took out some cold toast they brought with them and waited for ghosts to turn up. Now, far back, cold dripping toast is what the name of this toast is, and that's bread that's been soaked in mutton fat, and of course it's served cold. So, where was I? And waiting for ghosts to turn up. At midnight's first stroke, up jumped Albert, his mouth full of cold dripping toast. With a stick with his oases head handle, he pointed and said, there's the ghost. They felt their skins going all goosey as Lady Jane Spectre drew near, and Albert nearly swallowed his tonsils, with the Esmond and all did appear. While the Esmond chased Jane round the grass patch, they saw his axe flash in the moon. And seeing how this poor lass were headless, they wondered what next he would prune. So he finally caught sight of Albert as midnight were on its last chime. And father, he raised his axe. Father said, we'll get the insurance this time. My mother arose, taking hombre, and said, put that cleaver away. You're not taking our Albert's head off. Young color, we're clean on today. But the little lad stood there undaunted, though the Esmond was within half a pace, and taking the toast he was eating, he slapped it, dripping side down in Ghost's face. For proper set back for the Esmond, he let out one howl of despair, and taking his lady friend with him, he disappeared just like that there. Some say it was a toast dripping to done it. From a roast leg of mutton it came, and since the Esmond had been a beefeater, they reckoned he vanished from shame. From the Cold Tower Green to this moment, they see ne'er the sign of a ghost, but when beefeaters go on night duty, they take slices of cold dripping toast. This is about Noah and the ark.
Mic up.
Mike up.
It's very, very clean.
Put your mic up, honey.
Okay. Put the mic up, yes. How's that go? One evening at dusk, Noah stood on his ark, pouring greed oil in the starboard side lamp, when his wife come along and said, Noah, "Why, what's wrong? Our cabin is getting quite damp." He said, "Is that so?" And he went down below, and he found her right what she said. For there on the floor, caught a puddle he saw, was slushing around under bed. "Steady, there's a hole in the bottom somewhere," I said. "We must find it before we retire." And he thought a bit and said, "Aye, that's it. A bloodhound is what we require." We went to fetch bloodhound from between the skunk and the polecat it were. And since things down below were trifling so, we're glad of a breath of fresh air. Well, he found the hound as he went sniffing around. Little aloft he discovered the leak. It was a round hole in the side about 4 inches wide, where a swordfish had poked in its beak. By that gum, how that water rushed in, while young Chan, who at sums was expert, worked it out on his slate that it came in at the rate of per gallon per second per squirt. The bloodhound tried to keep water in check by lapping it up with his tongue. And as having no bowl, he went straight to the hole and put his nose for a bone. Well, the poor faithful hound, he very near drowned. They dragged him away none too soon, for the water that rose worked its way up his nose and blew him out like a balloon. And Mrs. Noah put her elbow in the hole. She said, "I think it stopped, I believe." But she changed her tune and she'd spoken too soon for the water to run up her sleeve. Then seeing as our elbow wasn't doing much good, he said to Noah, "I've an idea. You sit on the leak, and by end of the week, no knowing whether it may clear." Well, Noah didn't take much of this idea at all, but reckoned he'd give it a try. So on the old down he flopped, and the leaking all stopped, and all except him were quite dry. He took his dinner and breakfast and tea. Day after day, there he sat. The storm had all passed, and landed at last on the top side of Mount Ararat. Now that's old Noah got them all safe ashore, but there's more tales to this tale train to tell. Them that helped save the ark have all carried a mark. Aye, and all their descendants as well. That's why a dog usually has a cold nose and a lady cold elbows. And if you inquire, you'll find that a man takes his coattails in hand and stands with his back to the fire. Thank you.
Okay, so then, later, we need the cremation of San Miguel.
Then we